Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. And as we wait our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention for this space as being a welcoming, all-inclusive environment, open to everyone, regardless of background, identity, orientation, belief system, what color pants you're wearing, you name it. Hello 88 keys, 10 fingers. Happy to have you here again. Good to see you. Welcome. And yes, I trust that all of you who are joining now are as well as you can be, given whatever may be going on for you, outside in the world, or even inside, in your body, in your emotions, in your mind, in your thoughts. It's all gonna be okay. And you are certainly valid with whatever you are experiencing. Greetings, Isabella. Hello, Ragnhildur. Welcome. You are very early, and being early, I would like to remind everyone, with my hope that we come together as fellow spiritual seekers or students of life, if that's more applicable, for us to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and overall share positive sentiments. Namaste, Nish. And Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Welcome, Sky Guardian. 88 keys, you ask, do I have a favorite composer? Of all the composers in the world, I'm afraid I know very few of them by name. I have a lot of respect for that art form. And looking at the world and the universe as a whole, it reminds me of a great composition. There's a lot of harmonies, and there's a lot of dissonance. Sometimes key chapters in our life go through seemingly strange chord changes. I'm a big fan of the composer of this universe, though they are a bit avant-garde, I would say. Sky Guardian, you share that Veda Vyasa is my favorite composer. Ah yes, the composer of the Vedas. They are a song. Hello, Alcoholic Jesus. You've missed me lately. Well, I'm back. Hello. And thank you, Adam, for your rose so early on, blessing us. Radhe, Radhe. And hello, Small. Now, all of you here, and yes, including you, I have a question for you. Now, my question is no ordinary question. Today I am asking you, what have you learnt today that you didn't know yesterday? Even on days without school, even on days where something doesn't really happen, nothing really happens, always is there a learning. I would like to know from you. What did you learn today that you didn't know yesterday? And thank you, Fey Witch, for your heartmeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. And you are early, Pluto, indeed. And hello, Dansuela. And thank you for your love, Adam. Heidi, you ask, do I like sweet potatoes as much as yams? I love both yams and sweet potatoes. Indeed. Alcoholic Jesus, you share that apparently you're capable of working 40 hours straight with no break. That is very impressive. But I certainly would encourage you to have a break wherever you can. Oksana, you share that you can't experience the happiness from accomplishment. That is a beautiful thing to come to know. We can feel accomplished, but not necessarily from our outcomes of actions, but from the spirit of what we're already accomplishing now, ongoing in the present moment. Alicia, you share that you learned that public school is not best for every child. Every child indeed is very unique in their learning ways. Faye, which you share that you learned to further embrace your path. I love that. And thank you, Alcoholic Jesus, for your quartet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Sean Andreas, you share that you learned that your mom's moon is in your 7th house. You have a lot of houses. My goodness, 7 of them. You must be rich. Also, your mom has her own moon. Very impressive. I am sure that Gru from Despicable Me would very much like to know how she has managed this. These are bad jokes. I know it's astrological terms. Jasper, you share that you learned that flowers will stay fresh longer if you cut their stems underwater. That is very interesting. I know that it is exponentially easier to cut glass when it's underwater too. Maybe there is a connection. Maybe not. I don't know. Bonjour, Lolita. You learned that you should not fall asleep on the beach 3 hours without sunscreen. Yeah. That's a tough lesson. Donsuela, you share that you've learned that transitions in life are so challenging, but you need to breathe and accept. Very beautifully said. Thank you. And Kimmy, you share that you learned that quitting something cold turkey is possible. It is not always easy, nor is it always the path of least resistance. But indeed, 3.5 hours till you get a break, says Alcoholic Jesus. My goodness. Well, I hope you make the most use out of it when you get there. Kali, you share that you learned what signs to look for to keep yourself from getting scammed. Good. It is important to protect your assets as they are precious. Feral Merman. What is this you share? I'm not going to read that. And thank you, Johan. Small, you learned something about one part of your skin today. Might need to get a checkup. Well, it is important to be aware of our health. I trust that it will work out for you. Gardening Greyguard G. You learned that the planet Venus represents divinity in cosmology. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Pluto, you share. You've been holding off the last 3 episodes of Avatar for a month. And you found out Aang and Katara got married. Oh my goodness. What a spoiler. You know, that actually did hit me by surprise. I definitely didn't expect that. Heidi, you share that you've learned that you have forgotten to be compassionate towards yourself. Well, I'm very happy that you now have all this awareness for your potential. Blessed be Melissa. Casey, you ask, what did I learn? What did I learn today? I learned that a snooker pool table is a lot bigger than an 8-ball pool table today. My goodness. I might as well get a taxi to the other side of the table. It was that big. And when you pay by the hour, you really got to run to the other side and you get your exercise in. Thank you, Esther, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Chloe, you share that you learned everything. My goodness. Everything? Everything there is to learn today? Wow. Well, I hope you take a break from learning everything. That's a lot to learn. Sometimes, yes, I learn everything sometimes as well. Small, you share that you got followed by another Yam personator. However, this one perfected my profile, Linktree and everything. Well, they're getting better at it, it seems. You know, good for them. Good for them. Learning from their mistakes. I respect that. Caitlin, you share that you learned that doctors don't know where our brain goes when we go under anesthesia. Well, I should hope it stays in the same spot. What do you mean they don't know? They put you under and they open the brain. It's not there. Where'd it go? Now, where the mind goes, yeah, that's a good question. I think science will be questioning the nature of consciousness for a very long time. There's a lot of potential for understanding, that's for sure. And thank you, Asma, for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. Cheshire's Moon, you share that you learned that you must have a bit more faith in life, people, and overall, yourself. That is a beautiful reminder. Thank you. And I'm happy to hear that, Nick. But I do hope that any time-constrained responsibilities on your part aren't magically taken away. Do be aware of whatever you need to get done today. Now, I thank you all for exploring my question of the day with me. I'm going to move on to the next session. You know, I love to start my lives with a question of the day, explore it a little bit, and then I open with a reading. And today we are reading a new book because we finished our last book, Roar the Ganges. That entire playlist for Roar the Ganges is available on the Yamsox Live's YouTube channel. So if you were interested in that book, there's basically a free, very rough audiobook there for you, just from clipping our lives. So that's there for you. But if you had a good answer to the question of the day, you're also welcome to leave it on the recording that is uploaded to the same YouTube channel. Or you're welcome to just message me it too. I'm always happy to hear. But today we are continuing reading the preface of, where is it? In Love at Ease. This is a book about the spiritual teachings of a highly revered saint known as Pramukh Swami Maharaj. This book was written by Yogi Trivedi, who was a close devotee or disciple of the saint. He was the most recent successor to the BAPS Swami Narayan Sanstha. His successor was Mahant Swami Maharaj, whom I had the honor of receiving blessings from over email. But let's see, where did we leave off? We left off reading a note from the author, and now we're going to be reading the preface from this book. The preface is called Building Bridges. It is extremely difficult to write about someone who is one's whole world. Nothing one writes is good enough. Everything one writes is too good to remove. The constant guilt of omitting hundreds of shared interactions looms over one's mind, and a steady stream of tears flows from one's eyes while trying to find words befitting of one's beloved. Add to that a diverse audience's expectations of one's depiction of His Holiness Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life, and one can begin to appreciate the various layers of this publication. These reservations that would have otherwise hindered taking on such a difficult task fall away when the intent is to share stories of love and spirituality that one has experienced. Most of what has been written about His Holiness has been from a sectarian perspective for his disciples. This volume is an attempt to speak to the community's younger English readership and those at the periphery and outside of the community who are curious about this influential spiritual master's life and lessons. G to infinity, you share. Why do I get the feeling this story is going to be very deep? Seems that way, doesn't it? Also, Sky Guardian is going to kill me if I forget to mention that all the proceeds from this book go to tribal education in India, by the way. I have benefited greatly from growing in the Guru's presence. One of the greatest advantages of serving in various capacities under Pramukh Swami Maharaj's auspices, traveling with him around the world, and preparing food for him with his personal attendants, was that I actually found myself being served by him or his personal attendants. Within weeks, this became my family. Acceptance without judgment, without refined ability, and without prerequisites. He also taught me the precursors to faith and religion: humanity, empathy, social skills, and ambition balanced with kindness. And hello, Billy. Some of my earliest opportunities to perform as a vocalist and to speak in front of thousands with community leaders came under his direction, his instruction about the world beyond the community, a world that was also created and inspired by the divine, conveyed the importance of learning from it, engaging with it, and weaving it together with my community. This one lesson shaped not only my professional life as a journalist and academic, but also as a spiritual aspirant and a citizen of the world. This book is an effort to articulate this core lesson from his life, to build a bridge between the different worlds through which we trek. I am often asked how I manage my different identities as a journalist, scholar of religion, and a Bhakta, a devotee. An inherently difficult part of identity is to understand that it is made up of many elements based upon experiences and abilities that are either completed to perfection or left partially undone. With these half-baked abilities, one faces life's challenges with the hope that they eventually become fully baked. In the presence of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, I gained a teacher who helped to close those gaps in my talents whilst removing the distractions, and inspired me to merge these parts of my identity to become one whole person with a singular purpose. It is my identity as a Bhakta, a devotee, and a disciple of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, which has encouraged me to view, process, and analyze all that I study in a fair, egalitarian, and objective manner. This journey of mine comes together in this life sketch of the Guru, in which I speak of him with utmost reverence, but from a distance that allows me to see him not just from the perspective of the Baps Swaminarayan Hindu or Gujarati community, but from that of the world. Many within the community expect to read stories of the Guru's divinity or the experiences of the millions who, through his blessings, achieved success and avoided difficulty. Much has been written about that in other books, including my earlier book, Eternal Virtues, from 2008. This book is not that. Its aim is for the reader to feel the divine instead of it being shown to them. This book focuses on sharing interactions from the Guru's life that inspire one to find the internal stability to remain equipoised when faced with failure. In this way, the book is a telling of Pramukh Swami Maharaj's mantra for living life with hugs, humility, and humor. And welcome, Pesto, and hello, Feline. Though my interactions with His Holiness shape the form and tone of this book, it is not based solely on my experiences. I realized the greater contribution would be to bring together a community by sharing their moments. The stories presented in this book are uniquely sourced from a community of unlikely people who have felt His Holiness's divinity through written submissions, utilizing social media, and direct engagements that I have been blessed to hear or witness. Each phone call or recorded voice note sharing an interaction brought joy like a call from my Guru himself. If a story is not presented herein, it nonetheless influenced my thoughts and articulation. I am grateful for the generosity and vulnerability of all those who shared, entrusting me with their intimate moments with the Guru. Therefore, this book is not mine. It belongs to the hundreds of whose interactions with His Holiness form its foundation. With the hundreds whose interactions with His Holiness form its foundation. And that is right, isn't it? Even on the front cover, you will not see Yogi Trivedi's name. A tangible study of His Holiness's impact on the BAPS community, the Swaminarayan tradition, Gujarat, the Hindu diaspora, religiosity, and humanity can be conducted by looking at the numbers. The amount of students educated, disaster relief operations, volunteer hours poured into community service, hospitals and hostels built, people freed from lethal addictions, lives saved through medical procedures, families healed through personal counseling, and mandirs, Hindu houses of worship, and cultural centers built around the world. I am not good at math, and therefore often gloss over statistics in this publication. However, the reader should not forget that these stories are not just supported by emotion and feeling, but also hard data from people's lives, homes, and communities. The most important number, however, remains incalculable. The number of hearts purged of hate and filled with love and respect. The sheer reach and breadth of Pramukh Swami Maharaj's travels and words have surprised me time and time again. This surprise continues as one comes to understand the diverse network of people he brought together, irrespective of their backgrounds. He created a community beyond the one he was leading, a community of humanity, empathy, selfless service, and love, and faith in the self and the divine. The impact of Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life and work does not end with his centenary celebrations or with the publication of this book. It begins here and continues hereafter. In the spirit of service, respect, and equality fostered by His Holiness, all of the proceeds from the sale of this book will be contributed to the robust Adivasi education and tribal care programs run by the BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha in Poshina, also known as Ratanpur, and other villages in the Sarbakantha district of Gujarat. The people of these villages held a special place in His Holiness's heart. Just as the interactions and those I have witnessed are not merely mine, the interactions of millions of others too are not limited just to them. They belong to all those who embrace them, relive them, and learn from them. Gurus are eternal, for they speak to us through our memories with them, the community they leave behind for us, and the voice from within our inner selves. When faced with tough days, when I was struggling to write, I recalled Pramukh Swami Maharaj's instruction to me. It is your job to sit and write. It is his job to move your pen. Keep at it. He will too. And therein lies my motivation for this very publication, to share Swami Shri's life as I see it, knowing that the divine is inspiring my pen and mind. And because this preface is rather long, we'll pause our reading of the preface there and finish it hopefully later in this live. So I thank you all for listening with me as we cover the preface of In Love at Ease, Everyday Spirituality with Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Gardening Gregorji, you ask, why does Pramukh Swami have the Swami word come second? Is the former an honorific too? Yes, indeed. I am unfamiliar with what Pramukh means. Perhaps someone here may know, but it is indeed another title, I am sure. And thank you, Asma, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And hello, Luna. Sky Guardian, you share that it means the first. Pramukh, the first. I like that. He's number one. And thank you, Blodreina, for your 5 roses. And a stinging bee. Well, I hope it's not stinging me. Jai Sitaram. And hello, Shannon. And thank you, Nicole Antoinette, for your cloud bread. Radhe, Radhe. Hello, sweet baby. You share that so far you went out shopping today. Well, I hope that you've been having a good day so far. And Casey, you ask, where can you find this music I'm playing? You can find it on SoundCloud. It doesn't have a very catchy name. I just looked up Crown Chakra, royalty free, no copyright music. And it was one of the first that came up. Guy Prince Music, you had asked, isn't it true that the best part of my religion is low blood pressure? Having low blood pressure, having a lack of stress is definitely going to aid us in many ways. Sky Guardian, you share that you asked ChatGPT and Pramukh means chief or leader. You're embarrassed you don't know much even though you grew up in it. That's quite alright. I am sure that the name means so much to you, even if you don't know its literal meaning. And Chris Morton, thank you for your cloud bread, your ice cream cone, and a rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Laurie, for your ginger man, 10 roses, and a tiny. Yippee! Feline, you share that you had a sweet day today. It was nice, the weather was hot. I'm happy to hear that. Greg RG, you share that you googled the chakra relationship to the weekdays. Didn't seem to line up the same. Why? It's because that I didn't do much research. I've simply laid out the chakras as the week has been laid out. So Sunday starts with the root and Saturday ends with the crown. But other people have pointed out more intelligent ways of doing this, where, for example, you could look into how each day is associated with a planet in our solar system. Monday is with the moon. Tuesday, although not obvious, in other languages it is, like French, it is for Mercury. I forget what Wednesday is. Thursday is, I don't know. Saturday is about Saturn, Sunday is the sun. It becomes more obvious in French. I know that for sure. And then you could correlate the chakras with those gods which the planets were named after. But, yeah. I've just laid out the most linear way. And you are right, Flying Spielberg. The moon is not a planet, nor is the sun. But the Sanskrit word for planet here overlaps with other celestial objects, like the moon and the sun. The word is loka. And Bhuloka means the earth planet. Chandraloka means the moon planet. Suryaloka means the sun planet. But loka is more general than planet. I believe it's where we get the English word location. You could say it's earth location, moon location, sun location. Or maybe locale. Sky Guardian, you share that the audio feels muffled. It does seem to be peaking a little bit, I think. You may be right. Here. Testing, 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 testing. My goodness. Hello? 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 I think that might be a little better. I can also look at the levels. Something might have changed in the levels as well. I know that sometimes happens because this microphone is very glitchy. Okay, this should be better. I should be quieter, but I'm gonna turn down the background music to match. Alright. And it definitely won't be peaking. But thank you for informing me. And thank you, Blodreina, for your rose and rosa. Hariom Tatsat. And Tanhaoyu, thank you for your heart me. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, Lena, for your trio of tiny tinies. Yahoo! Yes, the reading quality is important to you. That is understandable. We have a shared interest. All good. Cole, you had asked if my Discord is still active. I don't know. All I know is that I'm not an active participant in it. Honestly, I'm a bit scared to go there. It's like no man's land in there. And Gregard G, you aren't necessarily questioning how I lined it up. Google messed it up. Yeah, well, the truth is there is no correlation. No objective correlation with the days of the week. I mean, the days of the week is a very human system. Actually, the chakra system is also very human. So don't worry so much about these kinds of associations. Corina, you are just curious, what is my zodiac sign? Well, my star sign is a Libra, I believe. And I'm very happy that you find a good opportunity for some healing in here, Casey. You are certainly welcome here. Thank you. And Feline, you share that since you are listening to my live, you feel great, less worried about life and the end of life. Well said. And I'm very happy that you find some relaxation here. And Maya, Camarata, you share, you don't know how to write in English because your language is Spanish, but you try to communicate. Well, you communicated that excellently. Perfecto. Sky Guardian, what are you saying? You say you found it hilarious how Swami Tadatmanandaji laughed. Said, man, Liam goes on and on. He said Liam is very enthusiastic. About what? Did you show him this? Or is he talking about my emails with him? Honey Badger Heels, you ask, how am I today? I'm doing well, thank you. And Schmoozles, you share that you are soothed by my voice. You are also a Libra. Well, I'm happy to connect with you on that point. You saw my satsangs. Well, that makes me happy to hear. I was worried that he was referring to my emails. I try to keep them concise. Yes, I do go on and on here. Now, Corina, you ask, can I talk about shadow work? Shadow work, shadow work, shadow work. The shadow do be working. Yes. Especially if we don't give it a job to do, it'll find some place to work. Oftentimes it is not working in our favor. See, what happens to the shadow if we don't address it, then it gets externalized. We start seeing everything we don't like about ourselves in everyone else, and then it makes a mess out of our relationships because we're really mad at ourselves, but it comes across as anger towards others. Or we might be insecure with ourselves, but it comes across as being judgmental to others. So shadow work is all about accepting the parts of ourselves that we don't even want to identify with ourselves. For example, you might be really scared to call yourself a mean person. You could say, I could never be a mean person. I only want to be kind. But something funny happens when we reject those qualities within ourselves. We end up becoming mean, which is a paradox that's really weird. The more we reject the parts of ourselves that we don't want, the more we end up projecting them. And we end up filling in those roles. The more you recognize your capacity to hurt someone, the more you will be able to help people. And that's the other side of the paradox. When you recognize that your words have the power to hurt, then you simultaneously realize their effectiveness in doing the opposite and having the power to help. It gives us a kind of cautiousness, a kind of humility. It allows us to take accountability when things do go amok. You meant my 10-hour-long satsang, Sky Guardian. I wonder what his record is. I don't want to compare though, I'm just curious. I'm sure there's very good reasons for keeping it short though. And thank you, John Simon, for your heartbeat. Ariom Tat Sat. Yes, exactly, Andy Chilled. And who can cast the first stone? Only God. Even then, God says, if you messed up your life, that's your business. You have to get yourself out of that mess. Hello, Alice. You ask, what's my favorite part of today? Right now. This moment. Yes, I'm very happy that you watched it too, Sky Guardian. That makes me feel full of love. Dager Diaz, you share that some people don't know they have the power to hurt because they are careless. But you see what we do when we phrase it like this. The moment we call someone else careless, then we're rejecting that label ourselves again, and thus it gets repressed into the shadow. We also have the capacity to be careless, and that capacity is the same for everyone. The more we focus on the defects of others, the less we are focusing on the difference that we can make ourselves. If we instead give everyone an opportunity to teach us something, then we become surrounded by saints. Then everyone has something that we have yet to learn ourselves. So one may be careless in one area, but they may equally be more careful than we are, and thus we have to learn. Echo Leaf, you share that you're currently learning Sanskrit. How lovely is that? I'm very happy to hear that. What a wonderful language that is. And thank you, Liz, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Degar Diaz, you add that you are very humanitarian and loving, but some people are just cold. See, we've already lifted ourselves up at the first side of that sentence and then put someone else down at the end of that sentence. Therefore, we are no better than anyone else if we are talking about our own virtues and then the defects of others. And Pluto, you add, what if someone's genuinely bad vibes and are rude for no reason? What good does it do to label them as having bad vibes and rude for no reason for us? How do we benefit from labeling someone else this way? Holding resentment for others is like swallowing poison and hoping the other person dies. It's just one extra way that they gain power over our own happiness. And I love that observation, Martin. We suffer because we resist. Resistance to people is resistance to what is, thus we suffer. Alice, you share that you went to a local market today. You loved watching strangers, giving them kind smiles, and dogs. I love to hear that. Thank you. A perfect language, says Echo Leaf. Yes. Sanskrit, in Sanskrit, is Sanskritam, which literally means perfected. But that wasn't the original name for the language. It was called that after a grammarian named Panini perfected it. Afterwards, it was called Sanskritam, perfected. And thank you, Liz, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Dager Diaz. Much love to you. And Alice, you share that there's so many beautiful languages. They all sound so amazing. You love how Japanese sounds. There's a lovely fingerprint of a language in its sound, a kind of unique texture and cadence and sound profile in general. And I'm happy that you find beauty in the diversity. Ragnhildur, you ask, how do you become more humble? Well, you're off to a good start. I mean, even asking that question is very humbling. To assume that we aren't already humble, well, that's pretty humble. You have demonstrated how to be humble simply by asking the question. So you've answered yourself while asking. Yes, asking that question is willing to become. Very true. Avikash, you ask, can you ask me a question? Did I get all the girls in high school? No, I did not get all the girls in high school. Actually, very few wanted anything to do with me. I was a big nerd in high school. All I wanted to do was talk about math and physics. Sure, I suppose as an adult, people find that fascinating. They have more room for that as we get older. But in high school, when there's all those hormones going on and social needs, I think the last thing any girl wanted to do was listen to math and physics. It wasn't yet time for that kind of area of exploration, when the focus is on our developing personalities and our relationships and friend groups, which is understandable. It was, says Echo Leaf, was and still am a very big nerd. Although I think even fellow nerds may reject me since I've gone pretty wishy-washy. Haven't I? Now I'm all about metaphysics rather than regular physics. And the nerds want nothing to do with that. Pluto, you ask, how do you get your cat to focus during meditation? Yeah, I'll tell you a story. Now, there was this Buddhist monastery And this monastery was famous for having cats that would roam around the premises. Still to this day, many cats find themselves wandering into Buddhist temples and they hang out. There's some wonderful videos on YouTube of cats that seem to go and kneel before a statue of the Buddha. Anyway, in this one monastery, they had this ritual, right? Before they would do their daily meditation session, they would take the cat that was in the hall and put it in the closet. And then they would do a mantra, and they'd go and meditate. And then when the meditation session was over, they'd go to the cabinet and do another mantra and open it and bring the cat out. And they would do this every day. It was very normal. Until one day, a very senior monk came. One who had been traveling far and wide, giving teachings. He was very old, and he wanted to return to his original monastery. So of course they greeted him and welcomed and said, "Hey, would you like to join our meditation session today?" And he said, "Of course, I would be happy to." And so they started setting everything up perfectly for him. And they picked up the cat and walked it over to the closet and put it in there. Did a mantra, came back. But this caught the senior monk's attention. He asked, "Why did you put the cat in the box?" They said, It's part of our ritual that we do. We've been doing it for years since you left." He said, "Oh, I just did that because I was impatient and I didn't want the cat to bother me. I did that one time. Now everybody thinks that it's standard practice. No, get the cat out of the box. It's fine." He doesn't have to meditate with us. Alice, you share that you're sure most religions started like this. Well, in the Uddhav Gita, not the Bhagavad Gita, which is a discourse between Bhagavan and Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita was followed by another Gita, the Uddhav Gita, between Krishna and Uddhav. And Uddhav asks some pretty open-ended questions, the highest that a spiritual seeker could ask. And one of them was, how do most religions start? Why are there so many religions? He asked God, Krishna. And God's answer was twofold. He said, first of all, there are as many religions as there are people in this world, because religion is a very personal practice. Therefore, everyone has a unique interpretation of their holy scriptures. But second of all, he said, some religions start because their father did it, and their father's father did it, and their father did it, and it goes back, and at some point you're just doing it because it's tradition. So that's very much in line with that story. Now, to really answer your question though, how do you get your cat to focus while meditating? The answer is you can't, but the answer itself is very revealing, because it has to do with the nature of consciousness in an animal and in a human. Humans are in the unique circumstance of having an intellect that is empowered to create new karmas. Animals and even devas, deities, they don't have the power of freedom of will. At least, definitely not to the extent that humans do. And this has to do with karmas and samskaras. That if you are born to the animal kingdom, besides human, then you can only live out your karmas. It is practically predetermined. Similarly, if you're born into a heavenly realm, you also are only living according to your karmas. It's just for the animals, it's all on survival, on instinct. But for the heavenly beings, it's all about pleasure and reward. But humans are in the perfect balance between the animals and the deities, because they have the power to overrule their karma through a process known as sharanagati, surrender. Thus, we have the ability to do austerities. We have the ability to study, pray, meditate, exercise, fast. Animals simply cannot do it. It's not in their karmas for them to do it. They can't practice austerities. So you could never force a cat to meditate. You could never force it to fast or pray or work out. Basically, you can't do anything as an animal where you'd surrender some temporary pleasure for long-term gratification. There isn't that foresight about the future that way. Mr. Astrolabe, you ask, what is austerity? Austerity is where we overrule the mind's want with like a veto power. You know how in some positions in government, there's someone who has veto power. You could sign a new bill and get people to vote on it, but one person might have veto power. Similarly, our mind has a faculty in it that has veto power. The mind could say, I want chocolate, give me that chocolate. But the intellect has veto power. It says, no. I will be able to restrict you from getting that desire, even though it's achievable. Even though all you have to do is reach your hand out and you put a chocolate to your mouth. The intellect can overrule that. And thank you, Heaven Bound, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Suto Singham. Thank you for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Richard, for your heart me too. Jai Sita Ram. I find it funny when people come in here thinking I am a spiritual reader or fortune teller. Julia, you were wondering, are you going to study the right thing? Criminology. That's not something I or anyone can decide for you, Julia. You make whatever you choose to study right by your dedication and commitment to it. And if you feel like it is best for you to express your talents in this way, then absolutely I would go through with the process of studying whatever your heart desires. And thank you, Jen Singh, for your bubble tea. Radhe, Radhe. Caddy, you ask, what are karmas? Actions, yes. The Sanskrit word karma is often rarely translated into English, although I'll give you an example where it is translated into English. Pardon me. the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, for example, is all about karma. The title of the chapter 3 is called Karma Yoga. I am sure you have heard of both of these words, karma and yoga, but you probably haven't heard the translation for either of them. Here is the translation that this author gives: the yoga of action. And it's still only a partial translation. Because they've translated karma into action, but they still haven't translated yoga. A more full translation would probably be the control of action, or even the union of action. Yoga can refer to control or union, spiritual control or union, and karma refers to action. But how can this be? I am sure a part of you is wondering. Because in our society, when we think of karma, we think of what comes back to you, right? It's not about the action, it's about what comes back to you from the action. That's the real karma, right? Or is it? Some people believe that karma is a mysterious force, that when the action happens, it sends ripples around the universe, reverberating in a pre-calculated way that return to you. The chapter on Karma Yoga explains all this. This was sung 5,000 years ago. So this is way before karma was used as an English word, way before English even existed back in ancient India. Here's how karma works according to the ancient scriptures. Every time you engage in an action, that action has an intention. Oftentimes, that intention may carry with it an expectation. For example, you could do something for the sake of expecting a reward. I want to do this so that I get into a good college. Your intention has an expectation with it, with the outcome. Or it could be avoidance of a negative outcome, avoidance of a punishment. I'm gonna do this so I don't go to jail. The intention is still related to the outcome, and thus there's an expectation. So what part of this is the karma? It is related to the outcome, but it has more to do with our expectations. See, if you do this and you get a negative outcome, then you say, it must be bad karma. But actually, the process wasn't magical. It was just because that action carried with it an expectation. And when the expectation isn't met by reality, we suffer. And then we call it bad karma. Or if we have an expectation and then reality supersedes it, then we experience pleasure. We call that good karma. But it was always an internal process. The karma was in the intention of the action. To be free from karma means that we never set that expectation threshold. It means we do the action not for avoidance of punishment or for the gaining of a reward. Therefore, whatever comes back to you, whether it is favorable or unfavorable, you neither experience suffering nor pleasure because you never set that expectation, that you are happy with whatever outcome. And that's called sharanagati. It means you are surrendered to the outcome, so there's no karma. If you do this with any action, then you are effectively a non-doer. Regardless of what happens back to you, you will not suffer, nor will you experience pleasure. So the karma isn't what comes back to you. It's whether your own expectations were fulfilled or not. And that is why people say that karma is internal. It's a part of you. Because it is. It's your own expectation. And if you want to hear more about this, just consult the text on karma itself, 5,000 years ago. Chapter 3, Bhagavad Gita. And Echo Leaf, you say, you suffer without pleasure? Your expectations must be, this high. And thank you, Moxie, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Katie, you ask, when did I start studying this? I don't know. I think I just picked up on it. There was never a moment in my life where I'm studying this or I'm studying that. If you become spiritual or spiritually minded, it just starts to come to you. And I'm no different from you in that regard when it comes to spirit. Alright, Sky Guardian, you recommend Vachanamrut time. Let us read from another section of the Vachanamrut. This wonderful text is a collection of about 300 discourses from a great being known as Swami Narayan. Here we are reading Gadhada 1:31. Greatness is due to faith. On the evening of Posh Vadi the second, Samvat 1876, or the 2nd of January 1820 in our calendar, Swami Narayan, here addressed as Shriji Maharaj, was sitting on a cushion with a cylindrical pillow that had been placed on the east-facing veranda outside his residence in Dada Khachar's Darbar in Gadhada. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, Yogananda Muni asked, Maharaj, suppose there are two devotees of the source, God. One observes nivrutti and does not hurt anyone verbally. The other, however, is constantly serving God and his Bhakta, devotee, by offering food, clothes, flowers, etc. In doing so, however, he may occasionally hurt someone verbally. Of these two devotees, who is better? A good question. So we have two devotees. One is following all the guidelines and being devoted to God, but they end up hurting other people in the process. And yet the other one is not following the guidelines to a T, so it seems, but ensures that they are not hurting anyone. Shriji Maharaj did not answer the question immediately. Instead, he called for Muktananda Swami and Brahmananda Swami. He had them listen to the question and then requested, please answer this question. Both Muktananda Swami and Brahmananda Swami then answered, The devotee who may verbally hurt someone but serves God and the sant, the saint, is better. On the other hand, the one who observes nivritti without hurting anyone and is thereby unable to serve God and the sant should be known to be feeble. The devotee who serves others can be described as having bhakti. Thus, the devotee with bhakti, devotion, is the better of the two. Shriji Maharaj confirmed, "The answer you have given is correct." He then added, "It is a major drawback if one notices some negligible flaw and subsequently bears an aversion towards a person who possesses bhakti and implicitly abides by the injunctions of God. A person who perceives flaws in this way may also perceive flaws in God, who has assumed a human form for the purpose of granting liberation to the jivas, individual souls. He may also perceive flaws in the profoundly great devotees of God. Moreover, just because such a person alleges such faults in God or his saint, does that render the avatars, the dissensions of God or the saint, incapable of granting liberation? They are indeed capable of granting liberation. However, one whose intellect is distorted always thinks negatively. For example, Shishupal always maintained the Pandavas, who are the 5 brothers, Arjuna is one of them in the Bhagavad Gita. The Pandavas are bastards. And because all 5 of them have the same wife, they are also immoral. Krishna is also a scoundrel because from the moment he was born, first he killed a woman, then he killed a crane, and then he killed a calf. He is known as Madhusudan, not because he killed a demon named Madhu, but because he destroyed honeycombs. Just because those bastard Pandavas worship him, does that make him God? It's a very controversial Gadhada. In this manner, Shishupal, with his demonic intellect, perceived flaws in God and his devotees. However, those who were devotees of God did not do so in any way. Therefore, one who perceives flaws should be known to have a demonic intellect. Hearing this, Yogananda Muni remarked, "But Maharaj, if we do not perceive..." Oh, there's no if. "But Maharaj, we do not perceive flaws in the great devotees of God. We merely perceive flaws in ordinary devotees." Aha! A good retort. Shriji Maharaj said in return, "A devotee's greatness or smallness is not measured the way you seem to understand it. Greatness due to one's faith in the manifest form of God and the observance of His commands. However great a person may be in worldly matters, if they lack these 2 attributes, then they are still ordinary. Besides, the greatness which I have just described is present today in all of the devotees in our satsang fellowship. Why? Because all of the devotees here realize we have attained Purushottam Bhagavan, who transcends even Akshar in a manifest form, and thus we have become fulfilled. Realizing this, they offer bhakti to the manifest form of God while following His commands. Therefore, on seeing some insignificant personal peculiarity in such a devotee, one should not perceive flaws in him. Moreover, if a person does have the habit of doing so, their intellect becomes demonic. All right. This is a classic Vaishnava verse here. Now, of course, due context is necessary whenever such direct points are addressed. But we can gather here that devotion is of utmost priority, and those who have devotion, we should not be seeking flaws in them. If they have hurt someone inadvertently in their devotion, then we should not be so quick to judge that it was out of intent of causing harm. Sometimes it just may be like that, I guess. It was a polarizing verse, isn't it? But that's quite all right. In the context of the Vachanamrut, it is said that an assembly of munis was present at that time. This wasn't some discourse done that publicly with a group of people from all sorts of backgrounds. These were people who were very close to Swami Narayan, so there is the implicit assumption that if anything controversial is spoken, there is trust that it will be resolved. Naturally, of course, I make a great risk in talking about such verses on a very public place, with people coming and going, especially from a Western audience, and our own personal experience with these things. It might come in contact with some rough parts, naturally. But just the same as there is the implicit trust that any controversial points will be addressed and we will come to a resolution, I offer the same to you all here as well. And if you have any points of concern, you are welcome to raise them, and I would love to attend to them. But I thank you all for listening regardless. And Sky Guardian, you share that you personally do not follow the Vachanamrut. You're just honoring the lineage you grew up in. And I think that is very respectable. And as you have given so much to our Sangha, I am only delighted to honor that same lineage as well, as it is no doubt that many devotees of Swami Narayan have attributed to great claims in their humanitarian efforts around the world. And it is a wonderful organization, no doubt about that. Gregor, you were wondering what chapter was that? It was Gadhada 131. Hello, Shelley. And thank you, Tattva Masi, for your quintet of roses a few minutes ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Liz, for your owl. Jai Sitaram. How many in total, you ask? A lot. This is part one of a couple short books. And the pages are very thin, like Bible pages. Seems like it goes up to Karyani 4. So we're past Gadhada. Now we're in a different location. The Gadhada section goes up all the way to 178. So it's way longer than Roar of the Ganges. Yes, definitely. It may take us a long time to get through it, but it's fun to crack open every day. With consistent effort, I am sure that we will make our way through it. And thank you, Grand 11, for your rose. I think what we can gather from that section is that it does reflect poorly on our part to call out people for their defects. Therefore, it is in our best interest to see the positives in people, especially if you are serious about the spiritual path. Yes, my hair is getting long, isn't it, Melhan? I've cut it once since I started doing these. Now, Honey Badger Heels, you asked a good question. What are my thoughts on self-sabotage? Well, it is funny. Self-sabotage is never conscious. We may punish ourselves, but only because we're trying to negatively reinforce something for our benefit. Mind you, negative reinforcement is hardly an effective tactic, especially when it comes to within ourselves, because we should be our number one supporters. The first person to forgive ourselves should be ourselves. The first person to give us another chance should be ourselves. Self-sabotage is a funny word because it hides the fact that we are never trying to sabotage ourselves. We may accidentally get in our own way sometimes. But even when we are mad at ourselves, angry at ourselves, disappointed in ourselves, all of those negative traits associated with ourselves are ultimately because we don't know any other way to motivate ourselves. And often this comes from poor association with people in our lives that also use these tactics against us. So we have learned that to get something done, I must discipline myself in this manner. But if we learned better techniques, we would absolutely use them. So it is a lack of knowing an even better way to motivate ourselves to be the best version of ourselves that we have for ourselves. And how many times can I say ourselves? Hello, Gaia. Tatvamasi, you share that you'd like to think you're serious, but your path hasn't overcome the mind. And indeed, the mind is not something easily overcome. Maybe I can find that verse in which Arjuna says to Krishna, "How am I able to overcome the mind?" It's a lovely verse. Yeah, Arjuna is very doubtful about Krishna's motivations to overcome the mind spiritually. He says, "O Madhusudana, due to restlessness of the mind, I do not see how this yoga of equanimity that has been explained by you can have enduring continuity. Verily, the mind is restless, turbulent, powerful, and stubborn, Oh Krishna, I consider it as difficult to control as the wind. And what does Krishna say in return? Krishna agrees with him. This is God we're talking about. God says, "Oh Mahabaho, undoubtedly, the mind is difficult to control and restless. But by the practice of the yoga of meditation and dispassion, O Kaunteya, it can be controlled." Yoga, that is to say, union with God, in my opinion, is difficult for one with an uncontrolled mind, but one who, being self-controlled, strives, can certainly obtain it with proper means by the practice of the yoga of meditation. I think it is always one of my favorite few words to read when God says, "in my opinion." I think one of the most unique trademarks of the Hindu tradition is that God is allowed to have different opinions from you, and you are allowed to have different opinions from God. It is just in Krishna's opinion. Now, mind you, you will surely benefit from following the opinion of God. No doubt about that. Echo Leaf, you are wondering, what word in Sanskrit or Hindu translates to the word God? In the Bhagavad Gita, before Krishna speaks, it says, Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha means speaks, Bhagavan means God. Bhagavan Uvacha. God spoke. And thank you, Claire, for your heart meat, your ginger man and a team bracelet. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Mustang, for your 20 roses. Tatvamasi, you share that it's ironic how external mind is believed to be internal, but to untangle this truth isn't easy. Letting go. There are two ways to look at it, and both of them equal. You can see the mind as internal, and the truth of that is that it is inside our experience, and that we contain the mind by inheritance of awareness. At the same time, we also use the term within to refer to the witness, and without to refer to everything beyond the witness. And in that perspective, the mind is external. I suppose then we are talking about the self from two perspectives. As Brahman, the mind is contained by it. As Atman, the mind is external. Geometrically, you can consider Atman to be like a point, a zero-dimensional point, finer than a grain of sand, finer than an atom. But Brahman to be bigger than the universe. and we are referring to the same thing, but in two perspectives. From the infinitesimal, the mind is external, but from the infinite, the mind is internal. Bog, you ask, can I do a reading real quick for you? Well, for your safety, I will put as a disclaimer, I don't do readings. In case you find a version of me that is offering you a reading, it is not me. At least, not this ego, same self. But that's a philosophical point, not a practical one. In this case. I can, however, open up to another page in the Pocket Pema Chodron for you, and maybe we can do a reading from this lovely Buddhist nun, and perhaps she has some words for you. Let's talk about the path of the Bodhisattva warrior. Don Suela, you share that she has been such a salvation to your soul. I love to hear that. Don, yes, Pema Chodron is wonderful. This is number 3, the path of the Bodhisattva warrior.
Scratch, scratch, scratch.
Wherever we are, we can train as a warrior. The practices of meditation, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity are our tools. With the help of these practices, we can uncover the soft spot of bodhicitta, the tenderness of the awakened heart. We will find that tenderness in sorrow and in gratitude. We will find it behind the hardness of rage and in the shakiness of fear. It is available in loneliness as well as in kindness. Many of us prefer practices that will not cause discomfort, yet at the same time, we want to be healed. But bodhicitta training doesn't work that way. A warrior accepts that we can never know what will happen to us next. We can try to control the uncontrollable by looking for security and predictability, always hoping to be comfortable and safe. But the truth is that we can never avoid uncertainty. This not knowing is part of the adventure, and it's also what makes us afraid. Bodhicitta training offers no promise of happy endings. Rather, this I, who wants to find security, who wants something to hold on to, can finally learn to grow up. The central question of a warrior's training is not how we avoid uncertainty and fear, but how we relate to discomfort. How do we practice with difficulty, with our emotions, with the unpredictable encounters of an ordinary day? That's number 3, the path of a Bodhisattva warrior. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Rahina, for your 10 tiny dinies.
Yahoo!
And Gregor G, you just read chapter 3 last night. You thought you recognized that? Well, that one's for you to refresh your memory then. And you're very welcome, Starboy. I'm glad you found it meaningful. And thank you for all of humanity, for your maple fireworks. Very Canadian. I see that. Along with the poutine, I guess there are Canadian-themed gifts. Thank you. And thank you for your shiny air balloon, and a pair of roses, and a gem gun. Thank you. Radhe, oh Radhe. You are from Michigan. Well, we are from the same continent, same hemisphere, same Earth, same solar system, same galaxy, same universe. Oh, Dansuela, you share that salve means an ointment or a healing concoction. It's pronounced salve. Thank you. I had thought that it was short for salvation. And perhaps it does come from a similar etymology, as an ointment or a healing concoction definitely bears a very similar kind of sentiment. But thank you for teaching me what this word is, salve. I will certainly read your comment, which contains it next time the right way. Same consciousness, says Gregor G. What a coincidence. And thank you, Pig Latin, for your rose. Radhe, oh Radhe. And Chifa G, thank you for your rose. And thank you, Claire, for your pair of team bracelets also. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tattvamasi, you share that Nisargadatta Maharaj, I'm still learning to say his name, he says, words like Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi don't mean much. Because just words until you experience. Very wise. But your username definitely means a lot to me, having you here, and it being your address for me to refer to you. That you are. And Scott Gibson, thank you for your rose. Jai Sitaram. Marcy, you ask, when am I going to see if my sister is going to braid my hair for a live? Good question, and thank you for reminding me. I know that tomorrow she'll be out to the house on an adventure. Maybe we can try for Monday. And thank you, Victor. I love my sister very much, and I hope to be an even better brother for her every day. Sky Guardian, you share. You've never met anyone that you can say, wow, I'm looking at God. I too can understand where you are coming from. Theoretically, however, of course, we know that Ishvara pervades everything, and therefore everything we look at is God. Realizing this, beyond just Shravana and Manana, getting to Nididhyasana, now that is a whole other ball game, isn't it? Ricky J, you ask, if Bashar is correct and this is meaningless, is there a definite order or just what is interesting? Well, if I were Bashar, I'd probably say something like, it is meaningless in the fact that it is meaningful. Because it is meaningless means that it is up to you to create meaning. That is available for you. That meaningfulness exists in an unmanifest form in every aspect of your life. It is born meaningless, but yet full of potential to be meaningful. And therefore, getting to that meaning is still your duty in spite of all the meaninglessness that surrounds you. Consider, by analogy, an empty canvas. You could say that the meaning is not there. You look at a blank painting. What meaning does it have? You could call it meaningless, but at the same time, it is ripe for meaning. It is just unmanifest, and in the eye of the painter, in that imagination, there is that spark of creativity to convert that vacancy into a place for meaning to be beheld. I've been listening to Bashar. Says G2 Infinity. Bashar has been listening to me, perhaps. And thank you for all of humanity, for your 40 team bracelets. Radhe, Radhe. Everyone flip a coin 2 times. If it's heads twice, then that means you all get to walk home with a team bracelet from For All of Humanity. Gaia, you ask, Yam, how does it feel to be you? How does it feel to be me as Yam? Good question. Well, let's see. I have a lot of doubts. I have a lot of fear. There are many things which I am angry about, and many things I am afraid to be. But beyond all of that negativity, there is this undying urge for peace. And although I cannot guarantee that I will find that peace, nor can I guarantee for all of you that I will be able to share it. I can guarantee that I will stop at nothing in the search of that peace. Quitting is not an option. There is only moving forward. And that by itself gives me great peace. Knowing that this decision has been made on the level of the soul. And thank you, Borgbank, for your rose. Reggie, you ask a good question. Is death not the peace which you seek? Death is but a temporary kind of peace. The peace I'm looking for is Sat Chit Anandam. Eternal, ever fresh, and unending. That is a rarer translation of Sat Chit Ananda. It is most commonly translated in a philosophical context to mean existence, consciousness, bliss. But these words have a double meaning. Sat also refers to the eternal. Chit also refers to that which is ever fresh. And Ananda also refers to that which is unending or ever new. No, yeah. Wait a second. Infinite. Sat is eternal, Chit is ever fresh, and the Ananda is the infinite. And thank you, Annie, for your heart me. Ariom Tat Sat. And thank you, Claire, for your trio of team bracelets. Blessed be, you ask, would I ever be in a long-distance relationship? I already am in a long-distance relationship with God. You know, the distance is so unfathomable. Here I am, and yet God seems so far away. But God is also very close, but also so very far away. And that longing increases every day. And actually, I hope I never meet God. You know. They say never meet your idols. I'm shy, yeah. Could you share that you were at a BAPS shrine today? I should visit one, very beautiful. Well, thank you. I don't think I have any near me, unfortunately. But when I travel to India, I am sure that I will find one. Kelsey, and you share, the only sin is forgetting that you are a soul and believing that you are separate from God. This is true. Some aspect of separation is not only important for a devotee but also necessary, because that longing creates even more love. Consider the story of a saint in India who would always sit at the top of the hill looking over the crowd into the temple to get darshan, sight of the murtis, the forms of God within. They said, "You are such a great soul, Mahatma. Why don't you come to the front of the line? I am sure that everyone would part so that you can get darshan of your Ishtadeva." The saint said, "From this distance, my longing to see God increases even more. Therefore, I stand on this hill so that I can feel the separation, and my bhakti, my devotion, increases that much more." Lizzie Rose, you ask, "Yam, what does it mean if you feel Kali Ma is calling you?" Well, if your mother is calling, you better pick up the phone. Let me tell you. You don't let your mom ring until the end, till voicemail. You pick that phone up right now. You pick it up right now. And thank you, Roxy, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Ragnhildur, for your trio of roses. Jai Sitaram. But when the Divine Mother is calling, you cannot pick up your material phone. You have to use a more spiritual line of communication. How do you do this? Well, you get for yourself a murti, an object that has been consecrated to be your spiritual telephone. Like, for instance, this bronze murti of Ma Kali. There she is. She's very heavy. I don't think I can balance her. And thank you, Marcy, for your hanging lights. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Shakira, for your heart me. Jai Sitaram. Colton, you share that this has helped you with your anxiety so much. You're very welcome. I appreciate that you share that, and I know that I've experienced a lot of anxiety. I still do. And in any way in which I am able to provide a space for you to feel less anxious, and I feel so much better myself. Gaia, you ask, Yam, is LA on the route? No, I don't think so. That's a good question, what the straightest path is between here and India. I think it's probably over, I don't know, it might be over the ocean? Or the North Pole even? I don't know. And Claire, thank you for your quintet of roses. Tatvam Asi, you ask, who judges a satsanga versus a sangha? Well, all satsangs are sanghas. It's like rectangles and squares. If you find a square, you have also found a rectangle. But when it comes to determining whether a quadrilateral is just a rectangle and not a square, there's very simple criteria. You just measure the side lengths, and if they're all equal, then you've got yourself a square rectangle. If not, then you just got a rectangle. Now, satsang on the other hand, that is up to the sangi, the participant. If you find spiritual growth in a sangha, then that is your satsang. If you find that you are just becoming more irritable, more egotistical, maybe less humble, then there's a good chance that this sangha is a kusang for you. But a great devotee can make even kusang into satsang. They are able to peer past the defects of others and focus only on what they can learn from the situation. The sat exists within you, just as the ku does as well. Now, I cannot guarantee a satsang. Indeed, at the time I asked the Swami if I could have his blessings in making this a satsang, and he didn't give it to me. So I took the word sat out of it. But that was not his request. That was my interpretation. And even afterwards, after relaying that interpretation, he said it's a good interpretation. Perhaps look at it this way. At first we see the sat, the truth within others. And if you spend a lot of time with good role models, then you'll begin to see the good in everyone too. And so it begins to, via osmosis, satmosis, permeate all aspects of your life. And therefore, everything becomes a satsang, an association with truth for you. But at the beginning, it's not going to be easy unless you make it easy for yourself by associating with people or places that easily bring out the sat for you. And thank you, Lucas. Thank you for your heart me and 127 roses. And thank you for your patience. Radhe, Radhe. And Roxy, thank you for your cheer you up. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, Tattva Masi, for your quartet of roses. And good night, Aquarius Lady. And good night, Scott Gibson. And thank you, Juki, for sharing some of your peace with everyone here. Interpol, you ask, how do I feel that my emotional control has improved? It has improved in that I feel less need to control my emotions, and therefore they pass a lot easier. Guten Nacht, Danny. Gaia, you ask, what is development to compartmentalization? Compartmentalization happens because our experience is so much greater than what we have the capacity to process. At a time. We can only process bite-sized pieces of it. Therefore, we all develop techniques of categorizing and labeling the objects in our experience, just to make it easier for ourselves to come to a sense of understanding. But like all techniques of compartmentalization, eventually the universe will give you something that doesn't fit well into any compartment. And so you either have to ditch your whole scheme or create a new part, or arbitrarily fit it into a compartment awkwardly. In fact, a lot of so-called philosophical questions are really just conflicts with our schemes of compartmentalizing. It's just a question of how we can fit something into our worldview. The spiritual path is going beyond your worldview. It's becoming open to the fact that life is pretty formless. It's not black and white, nor is it objective, nor is it easily digestible in terms of labels and names and forms. To get the full experience, we have to drop this notion. Now, that's not to say it's a bad thing. That's not to say there is no place for compartmentalization, for labels and names and forms, for objectivity. That all has a place. Specifically, science. Science benefits from all that. But science alone is not enough for a conducive experience of happiness. You could label everything in your experience and have a description for all the objects and fit it all nicely together. But then what? Will we be happy with the fact that we've categorized everything? Surely, as this universe is evolving, we will always have to adjust our schemes of labeling. So to come into a kind of acceptance where you don't have to do all this rearranging of identities, that is where a different perspective comes in. Not one that seeks to label and name, identify and objectify, but one that seeks to, well, if I put it into words, then I'll just be giving it a label. One that seeks to go beyond those things, to be accepting. To have no resistance for all of the pieces of our experience and see it as one whole ongoing happening that we are a part of. Kelsey, you share that higher consciousness is letting go of limitations. You begin to respond instead of react. I like that. Or be proactive instead of reactive. Horizontal, you ask, will I ever put my videos back up, brother? At this moment, I have no intentions of doing that. However, I do intend on revisiting all the same topics, just from a new angle, a new method of approach. My love for science and physics, it has remained the same. Tattvamasi, you share that you started looking at now as moments, and that changed the picture quite a bit. Yeah. There is the transient now and the eternal now. The transient now is associating this moment with all of the objects and their things and the positions and relationships, and that's changing. And when it changes, then we can no longer consider this moment to be the same now as we have defined it previously. But there is also the eternal now, which takes into consideration all the change. And all the change is a part of this now, and therefore that now is eternal. From one perspective, we are looking at the object of experience, and from another, the subject. Faithful being, you share that you remember being down one morning and then enlightened after seeing my math video. My goodness, what a turnaround from being down to enlightened. Well, I'm very happy that the video touched you so deeply. Math can be very enlightening, that is for sure. Scott, you had asked, what makes me angry? What makes me angry is when I feel like I have to control something, and I have to face the fact that I'm not able to control everything, then I get angry. Hello, Yana. And thank you, Kazki, for your heart me a moment ago. Radhe, Radhe. What makes the world go round and round? Shares Anthony. I get that it's a rhetorical question, but angular momentum is the answer. Kelsey, you ask, have I ever heard someone explain the difference between soul and the spirit? I have heard many people explain the differences, but words are words, and I would like you to know that if you find yourself in this Sangha, I use the terms interchangeably, just with a little different sentiment, I suppose. Other people, I respect, they use the words differently than I do, but just for your understanding, when I refer to spirit, I also refer to soul. I also refer to consciousness as awareness, as that witness, as that experiencer, as that perceiver. They are all the same in my vocabulary, but you all may use the words differently than I do. And thank you, Kelsey, for your 9 roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Colton, you ask, how about the difference between the soul and the awareness? As far as Vedanta is concerned, which is my primary means of explaining the nature of the self, awareness is just one name for the soul. In Sanskrit, the term for the soul is Atman, and the term for awareness is Chaitanya. And Chaitanya is used synonymously with Atma. So is Chit, consciousness. Yeah, we should start winding down soon, says Sky Guardian. I know you want to hear the next section of In Love at Ease. Yes. And thank you, Jackie, for your subscription. It is never a necessary part of your involvement here, but it provides me with a bountiful opportunity to connect deeper with you, showing your support and allowing me to help you in more ways than one. So thank you. Radhe, Radhe. And I always hope you enjoy the stickers. There's a new one. I've added the tiny sticker. I like how you all are debating whether I should stay or not. On one hand, we like it here. On the other hand, Yam needs his beauty rest. On the other hand, Sky wants to hear the reading before he goes to bed. On the other hand, I mean, how long should satsang be? Well, how long should your positive associations last? Eternally, right? Without end. Yeah. Forever, says Greg RG. 24 hours, 7 days. Thank you, Alice. May you have a beautiful sleep. What lullaby am I reading to you all tonight? Asks Love's the Way. We will be reading from a new book, In Love at Ease. Anthony, you ask, how many times do I eat today? As many times as I am hungry. Sometimes there's just one time in my day where I'm really hungry. Other times there are several moments where I'm a little hungry. And whatever my body wants, that much I shall attend to. Now, it is a good opportunity to start wrapping things up for tonight anyway. And thank you, Liz, for your stinging bee. Arion Tatsa. But before we go tonight, there are 3 things I'd love to go through with you. I have a question of the day, then a reading, and then a meditation session together. We'll be listening to a Buddhist healing mantra, which is very lovely. My question of the day for you today is, what have you learned today that you didn't know yesterday? This is a question that my grandfather used to always ask me. Every time I'd see him, what have you learned today that you didn't know yesterday? And if I was having a hard day, I'd say that I hate my teachers at school. And he'd say, well, that's one thing you've learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Sky Guardian, you learned that people get annoyed when you tell Yam to wind down. Well, that's one thing you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Kelsey, you've learned that you need to stop being your own echo chamber. It doesn't bring peace. Well, that's one thing you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Heidi Haven, you shared that you learned that I like sweet potatoes as much as yams. Well, that's one thing you've learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Scott, you learned that you're the worst. Wow, that's one thing you've learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Glimmer, you share that typing speed 24 is bad. It is below average, but below average doesn't necessarily mean bad. In any case, that is something you've learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Selena, you learned that healing is not a linear line, and you need to be patient with yourself. That is one thing you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Jackie, you learned how to locate and use the tiny sticker. That is one thing you've learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Martin, you ask, what religion do I follow? Whatever yours is, my friend. I only wish to deepen your faith in the practice that you are already a part of. Tatvam Asi, you share that today you learned it takes 1,000,000 chances for spores to get together. Yet, you see mushrooms if you don't tend to your garden. That must mean you have a very lucky garden. Or a lot of spores. And that's one thing you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Anthony, you share that you can really say, one can't control other people's actions, for sure. That is one thing you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. Gaia, you have found a new love today in all aspects. You didn't know you were loved. I am so happy to hear that. Claire, you learned that a horse can wreck a fly rug in 5 minutes. Wow. Greg RG, you learned that you love us all more than you did yesterday. And that is something I have learned today that I didn't know yesterday. So thank you. Much love to you too. Brittany Holmes, you learned that IBM created the first smartphone with touchscreen in 1992. Wow. Tara Reed, you learned that mycelium networks share information and resources with trees and other beings. How lovely is that? Thank you for sharing that. Funky Yurt, you learned that self-sabotage is ironically helpful. Well, it is trying to be anyway. We are always looking for ourselves, out for ourselves. And Selena, you learned that you really like my lives. You're a more recent viewer. Yes, and you are always welcome here. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Joshua, you share that you have learned that yesterday was a test, and today is the assignment. I love that. Claire, you also learned Not sure how to pronounce this. Ceylon or Ceylon cinnamon is good for controlling insulin levels in horses. Well, aren't you full of horse knowledge? I'm happy to hear that. G2 Infinity, you learned early today that you have a specific admirer that you had no idea. Wow. How mysterious. Rias, you learned today that your partner is unconditionally loving when you're feeling sad and insecure. And what a beautiful moment that is for you to feel safe in your vulnerability. Jackie, you shared that you learned that you need to focus on topics other than negative and horrific things. Yes, but it's just so easy to. The mind wants to know everything that's going on in the world that could be of danger. And hello, Anna Marquez. Brittany, you also learned that your 2-year-old is now heavy in the terrible 2 phase. Well, all my best wishes to you and your parenting journey. And Nick Monroe, you shared that you learned that you have God in you. We all do. I love that. Lad School, you ask, am I willing to share what I learned today? There are so many things I learned today. Let us see. I learned that if you're good at playing pool, then it is better to pay by the hour for a pool table. If you're not very good at pool, then it's more financially efficient to just pay per game. All right, and with that, I will close our question of the day section. But thank you all for listening with me as we read so many wonderful answers, so many things that we are all learning together. I appreciate that. Very many experiences from such diverse backgrounds. Isn't it lovely? We are all here, same consciousness, same universe, and yet our experiences differ so drastically, moment by moment, day by day. Now, so Sky Guardian can get his beauty rest, let us read from another section of In Love at Ease, Everyday Spirituality with Pramukh Swami Maharaj. This is a book about, as the name implies, a great saint known as Pramukh Swami Maharaj, who was the previous president and guru to the BAPS Swami Narayan Sanstha, which is the childhood spiritual organization of Sky Guardian, who sent this book for us to read. He was succeeded by Mahant Swami Maharaj, whom I had the honor of receiving blessings from a few months ago over email. And we are reading the preface. We are about halfway done reading the preface. Reliving, sharing, and drawing from Swami. This is going to be a tongue twister. Swami Shri's. I guess it's not that hard. From Swami Shri's interactions with the self, the divine, and the world is an easy and accessible way to advance on the path of spirituality. The lessons and interactions I highlight are just one exegesis of my guru's life. I hope this one will inspire many more to follow. Pramukh Swami Maharaj's successor and the current Guru, His Holiness Mahant Swami Maharaj, reminded me of this in Chino Hills, California, in 2017, explaining, "Nothing is left to say, nothing left out in our interactions either. All that is left is to do. Do." The Guru speaks from within. When you listen carefully through the voice of the Antar Drashti, introspection, Agna, injunction, and Smriti, remembering moments with the Divine and Guru. This book is an attempt to do and inspire others to do. Mahant Swami Maharaj set an example of doing as he seamlessly continued his Guru's legacy of bhakti, love and devotion, and seva, service, infused with humility to all of God's creation, with an eye of equality and ease. I heard his voice within constantly steering me as I wrote about Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life. I am humbled that he graced the book with a foreword. The visionary and driving force behind this publication is Ishwar Charandas Swami, the international head of activities at the BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha. When he asked me to translate Eternal Virtues from Akshar Vatsaldas Swami's Gujarati masterpiece in 2007, I did not know that it would prepare me for a different sort of publication 15 years later. His ability to inspire and to do so without ever infringing on the creative process is rare, especially in a religious community. In earlier publications, I have described my relationship with him in great detail. Here, it is enough to say that without his loving guidance, friendship, and unending patience, I would not be here today. I am grateful to several sadhus, monks, and bhaktas, devotees, for drawing me close to my Guru, physically and spiritually. His Holiness's personal attendants and many others who often traveled with him gave me the opportunity to serve and observe my Guru at close quarters. And I just noticed that the word serve is within the word observe. There is a lot of service done through observance alone, like how we observe the details of someone's life, and thus we serve them just by listening. Vivek Sagar Das Swami, Dharma Charan Das Swami, the late Yogi Charan Das Swami, Narayan Charan Das Swami, Divya Purush Das Swami, Anand Vihari Das Swami, Prabhu Hunidas Swami, Yogi Smaran Das Swami, Akshar Vatsal Das Swami, Brahmadirthas Swami, Nirbhaswarup Das Swami. A lot of new Sanskrit names for me. I would like to separately mention my culinary guru and mentor, Krishnavalabhdas Swami, without whom I would never have been fortunate enough to cook for and personally serve His Holiness. I owe much of my travels with His Holiness to the grace and teachings of this simple, loving sadhu and masterful cook. I am equally grateful to those who have helped me parse my relationship with His Holiness over the years. His Holiness Mahant Swami Maharaj, Swayam Prakash Das Swami, Dr. Swami, Bhakti Priya Das Swami, Kothari Swami, Ishwar Charan Das Swami, Anand Swarup Das Swami, Ganeshwar Das Swami, Brahma Vihari Das Swami, Adarsh Jiva Das Swami, and Atma Trup Das Swami are the foremost among them within the community. Outside of the community, I leaned heavily on others to appreciate the role of a guru in one's life. As rightful gurus of their own communities, their comforting and yet direct words were crucial in helping me strengthen my bond with His Holiness during periods of his physical absence. Acharya Srivatsa Goswami of the Sri Chaitanya Prema Sansthan of the Gaudiya Sampradaya in Vrindavan, and Sant Vallabhdas Swami, the principal Kothari of the Vadtal Swami Narayan Mandir, are the foremost among them. Whew! I am indebted to the team at Penguin Random House India, who accommodated my schedule and helped me prepare this publication for print in an incredibly short time frame. Udyotna Kumar is a miracle worker and healer of words and ideas. I am grateful to Ankit Juneja for his patience with me. He shielded me from the immense pressure that he bore as he worked overtime to meet the production deadlines for His Holiness's centenary celebrations. Gnanmuni Das Swami was a constant source of support and comfort throughout the writing, editing, and production process. I am grateful for his direction in coordination with the team at Penguin. I would also like to sincerely thank Yogi Vivek Das Swami for providing swift, meticulous feedback in the final days before going to press. This book would not have been possible without the round-the-clock effort and guidance of three very important people in my life. They are close friends, guides, and fellow thinkers. I am grateful for the ideas, inspiration, and support they gave me to finish the publication. Gyan Priyadas Swami is an encyclopedia of the Guru's life. His late-night voice notes of interactions with the Guru were my warm companions while I wrote. Shant Murti Das Swami is a voracious reader and note-taker who helped locate relevant incidents from Gujarati texts. Amrut Nanandas Swami was my sounding board, providing feedback critical for shaping the chapters. Several other sadhus shared interactions with me from Swami Rishi's life. I said it again, it's not Swami Rishi, it's Swami Shri, although Swami Rishi would probably be fitting as well. That they witnessed and noted Brahma Vihari Das Swami, Bhadresh Das Swami, Yog Vivek Das Swami, Shukmuni Das Swami, Priyavrat Das Swami, Gyan Purush Das Swami, Anandanand Das Swami, and Vedchit Das Swami, Vedchintan Das Swami helped me identify and classify many of the interactions from His Holiness's life. The images in this publication correspond with these interactions. I am grateful to Shriji Swarup Das Swami, Chaitanya Murti Das Swami, Apur Vapurush Das Swami, Chirag Ved, and Jignesh Makwana for helping to select and edit these photographs. My senior academic colleagues and mentors were not directly involved with the publication of this book, but have inspired me to write and think in ways that I never knew were possible. I am grateful to Raymond Brady Williams, Sheldon Pollock, Rachel McDermott, John Quart, Brian Hatcher, Ari Goldman, and Harendra Bhatt for encouraging me to question so that I could believe. A distinct word of gratitude is in order for my academic and bhakti devotion guardian angel, John Stratton Hawley, also known as Jack Hawley, whose patience, intelligence, and generosity were the backbone of my words. I owe a special thanks to Shantmurti Das Swami and the sadhus at BAPS Sri Swami Narayan Mandir in Atlanta, who opened their monastery and hearts to me. It is a home, sanctuary, and office experience unmatched by any other. Sorry, I lost my spot. There it is. It was Shantmurti Das Swami's guidance and friendship that brought me to Atlanta and kept me there throughout the writing process. Saral Yogi Das Swami was generous enough to let me use his workstation, and Muni Tilak Das Swami was kind enough to share his office with me. I hope you all are remembering these names. There will be a test. My conversations with these sadhus over meals, I'm just kidding, and long walks around the campus aided me in thinking through the life and lessons of the Guru. I must also thank the team of researchers from the community who surveyed and cataloged the numerous source materials, a time-consuming task that I never would have been able to complete without their help. Ankit Bhatt from New Jersey, Sahil Brahmbhat from New York, Kirtan Chauhan, also from New York, Tir Jani from Miami, Hari M.K. Patel from New Jersey, or MC rather, Krupesh Patel from New York, Kunal Patel from Atlanta, Pooja Satigunvar from Portland, and Kshiti Vaghela from Detroit. Not a researcher, but my brother-like friend Nirmal Patel and his family have been loving companions on this journey of bhakti and shraddha over the years. Finally, I would like to thank Bijal Jadav from Houston, who has helped make my thoughts intelligible and accessible for the reader. We worked together previously on Bhagwan Swami Narayan, the story of his life, from 2014, and this time around she was even more diligent and dedicated despite being busier with work and family. Her name deserves to be on the spine along with mine. It is her humility that has got in the way of it being printed there, perhaps a lesson she learned from His Holiness. Last paragraph. For His Holiness, bhakti, devotion, was to build bridges between islands in an archipelago. This book is a labor of love which exemplifies Swami Shri's spirit of unity by bringing together thoughts and contributions by a diverse group of thinkers and researchers, namely sadhus, women and men bhaktas, devotees, diverse religious leaders, academics, and community leaders. It builds a bridge between perspectives and beliefs, a bridge from where I hope to savor and share views of my Guru's life. From Yogi Trivedi, from the BAPS Sri Swami Narayan Mandir, Atlanta, 29th of October, 2022. Lab Pancham. So, there are many people referenced in this book. How wonderful is it? And what an incredible memory it must be to recall everyone that has helped contribute to all of the writings in this book. Definitely an exercise in humility to recognize so many wonderful people that have helped shape this book. And that really excites me for the coming chapters as we will begin tomorrow, with the hopes of revealing so many wonderful memories from so many people with this great saint, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, whom I hope to meet and become familiar with through these words. So, thank you for listening. Now that we have gotten the formality of reading through the author's note and preface, we can start with reading from the introduction tomorrow, and the rest of the book will surely come smoothly from there. And I thank you all with your patience in me pronouncing many Indian names. They don't make it easy, do they? Reminded you of those family trees written in the Bible, says Greg RG. Yeah, right? And Tattvam Asi, you share, you got a question. When would a saint, a monk, a rishi, or a jnani apologize? It's a good question. I believe that taking accountability should always be first and foremost in one's mind whenever a mistake is made. Oftentimes, it is possible to say something other than sorry and still get the message across, which is a very powerful way of taking accountability whilst also empowering the other person. So for example, where someone... I've really lost my voice. I feel like I might be coming on with a cold soon, so we'll see how that develops. But where someone might say sorry for being late, you may equally just as say, thank you for your patience in waiting for me. When you thank someone for their patience, you are empowering them, and it can lead to an even more profound kind of accountability, where we recognize that another person has had to practice some virtue in lapse of our judgment. Therefore, instead of apologizing for our defects, we extend appreciation for the virtues of others which have had to fill in our gaps. You may find that such spiritual beings may also take that route, where instead of directly saying sorry, they might thank the person for filling in a role that they have had to play. So there is a kind of apology that comes with that, but it might not even sound like one, because they are able to turn that moment into an opportunity to find something they're grateful for in others. I think that makes sense. All right. Now, we have one more thing I'd like to go through with you before we end today's live stream, and that's a little meditation session. Today we'll be listening to a Buddhist mantra which is all about healing and love. So I hope to listen to it with you. I believe it's 18 minutes, so it's on the longer side. It is not the longest meditation we've done, but at the same time, it is certainly not the shortest. And no one is expected to listen through the whole thing, but you're welcome to with me. If not, I say goodbye to you now, and I thank you for joining us. So, let me minimize the background audio that we've been listening to so far. And let me maximize this video for you all. It is a video, so you'll get to see and hear. This outro is intense, says Lindsay Robbins. It's gotta be. All right, let us see here. There it is.
Trilokiya Prativissistaya Buddhaya Bhagavate Tariyata Om Vishuddhaya Vishuddhaya Asamasamasa Vasasparana Gati Gahana Sobhava Vishuddhe Abhisinjanto Mamshugata Varavachana Amerita Abhisekai Mahamantra Pare Ahara Sodaya Gagana Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Vishuddhe Sahasrarasmi Samjodite Sarva Tathagata Avalokani Satparamita Paripurani Sarva Tathagata Matidasa Bhumi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Vajrakaya Samhatana Vishuddhe Sarvavarana Apaya Durgati Pari Vishuddhe Prati Nirvartaya Ayushuddhe Sammaya Adhishtite Mani Mani Mahamani Tathata Bhuta Koti Parishuddhe Vishputta Bodhishuddhe Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vijaya Smara Smara Sarva Buddha Adhishtita Shuddhe Vajri Vajra Garbhe Vajram Bhavatu Mama Sariram Sarva Sattvanam Chakaya Pari Vishuddhe Sarva Gati Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Sinchame Samma Svasayanto Sarva Tathagata Samma Svasa Adhishtite Buddhiya Buddhiya Vibhuddhiya Vibhuddhiya Buddhaya Buddhaya Vibhuddhaya Vibhuddhaya Samanta Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Soha Namo Bhagavate Trilokiya Prativissistaya Buddhaya Bhagavate Tariyata Om Vishuddhaya Vishuddhaya Asama Sama Samanta Vasasparana Gatigana Sobhava Vishuddhe Abhisinjantu Manshugata Varavachana Amerita Abhisekai Mahamantra Padai Ahara Ahara Ayu Sandarani Sutaya Sutaya Gagana Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Vishuddhe Sahasrarasmi Samjodite Sarva Tathagata Avalokani Satparamita Paripurani Sarva Tathagata Matedasa Bhumi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Vajrakaya Samhatana Vishuddhe Sarva Varana Apaya Durgati Pari Vishuddhe Prati Nirvartaya Ayushuddhe Sammaya Adhishtite Mani Mani Mahamani Tathata Bhutta Koti Parishuddhe Vishputta Bodhishuddhe Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vijaya Smara Smara Sarva Buddha Adhishtita Shuddhe Vajri Vajra Garbhe Vajram Bhavatu Mama Sariram Sarva Sattvanam Chakaya Pari Vishuddhe Sarva Gati Pari Shuddhe Sarva Tathagata Sincha सिञ्चामे समास्वासायन्तो सर्वा तथागता सम्मास्वासा आरिष्टिते बुरिया बुरिया विबुरिया विबुरिया बोधाया बोधाया विबोधाया विबोधाया सम्मन्ता पारिशुद्धे सर्वा तथागता हृदया आरिष्टानादिष्टिता महामुद्रे सोहा नमो भगवते त्रैलोक्य प्रतिविशिष्टाय बुद्धाय भगवते तदियता ॐ विशुद्धाय विशुद्धाय असमसमसमन्तवसस्परानागतिगहन स्वभाव विशुद्धे अभिषिञ्चन्तु मम शुगतवरवचन अमृता अभिषेकाय महामन्त्रपराय आहार आहार आयुसंधाराणि सुधाय सुधाय गगन विशुद्धे उष्णिषा विजय विशुद्धे सहस्ररश्मि संचोदिते सर्वा तथागत अवलोकानि सत्परमित परिपुराणि सर्वा तथागत मतिरस भूमि प्रतिष्ठिते सर्वा तथागत हृदय अधिष्ठानाधिष्ठित महामुद्रे वज्रकाय संहाताना विशुद्धे सर्वावरणा अपाय दुर्गति परिविशुद्धे प्रतिनिर्वर्ताय आयुष्युद्धे सम्माय आदिष्टिते मानि मानि महामानि तथा भूता कोटि परिशुद्धे विष्पुत्ता बुद्धिशुद्धे जय जय विजय विजय स्मर स्मर सर्वा बुद्ध अधिष्ठिता शुद्धे वज्रे वज्रगर्भे वज्रं भवतु मम शरीरं सर्वसत्त्वानं चक्राय परिविशुद्धे सर्वागति परिशुद्धे सर्वा तथागता सिञ्चामे सम्मास्वासायन्तो सर्वा तथागता सम्मास्वासा अधिष्ठिते बुद्धिया बुद्धिया विबुधिया विबुधिया बुधाय बुधाय विबुधाय विबुधाय समन्त परिशुद्धे सर्वा तथागता हृदय अधिष्ठानाधिष्ठिता महामुद्रे सोहा नमो भगवते त्रैलोक्य प्रतिविशिष्टाय बुधाय भगवते तदियता ॐ विशुद्धाय विशुद्धाय असमसमसमन्तवसस्परानागतिगहन स्वभावादिशुद्धे अभिषिञ्चन्तो मम शुगतवरवचन अमृता अभिषेकाय महामन्त्रपराय आहार आहार आयुसंधराणि सुतया सुतया गगना विशुद्धे विष्णिषा विजया विशुद्धे सहस्ररश्मि संचोदिते सर्वा तथागता अवलोकने सत्परमित परिपुराणे सर्वा तथागता मतिरस भूमि प्रतिष्ठिते सर्वा तथागता हृदय अधिष्ठानाधिष्ठिता महामुद्रे वज्रकाय संहाताना विशुद्धे सर्वाभरणा अपाय दुर्गति परिविशुद्धे प्रतिनिर्वर्ताय आयुष्युद्धे सम्माय अधिष्ठिते मानि मानि महामानि तथा भूता कोटि परिशुद्धे विष्पुत्ता बुद्धिशुद्धे जय जय विजय विजय स्मर स्मर सर्वभूता अधिष्ठिता शुद्धे वज्रे वज्रगर्भे वज्रं भवतु मम शरीरं सर्वसत्त्वानं चक्राय परिविशुद्धे सर्वागति परिशुद्धे सर्वा तथागता सिञ्चामे समास्वासायन्तो सर्वा तथागता सम्मास्वासा आरिष्टिते बुरिया बुरिया विबुरिया विबुरिया बोधाय बोधाय विबोधाय विबोधाय सम्मन्त परिशुद्धे सर्वा तथागता हृदय अधिष्ठानाधिष्ठिता महामुद्रे सोहा Namo Bhagavate Trilokiya Prativissistaya Buddhaya Bhagavate Tariyata Om Vishuddhaya Vishuddhaya Asamasamasa Vasasparana Gati Gahana Sobhava Vishuddhe Avissinchantu Mamshugata Varavachana Amerita Abhisekai Mahamantra Padai Ahara Ahara Ayusam Dharani Sundaya Sundaya Gagana Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Vishuddhe Sahasrarasmi Samjorite Sarva Tathagata Avalokani Satparamita Paripurani Sarva Tathagata Matidasa Bhundi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Vajrakaya Samhatana Vishuddhe Sarva Varana Apaya Durgati Pari Vishuddhe Prati Nirvartaya Ayushuddhe Sammaya Adhishtite Mani Mani Mahamani Tathata Bhuta Koti Parishuddhe Vishputta Bodhishuddhe Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vijaya Smara Smara Sarva Buddha Adhishtita Shuddhe Vajri Vajra Garbhe Vajram Bhavatu Pamasariram Sarva Sattvanam Chakaya Pari Vishuddhe Sarva Gati Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Sinchame Samma Svasayanto Sarva Tathagata Samma Svasa Adhishtite Buddhiya Buddhiya Vibhudiya Vibhudiya Buddhaya Buddhaya Vibhudaya Vibhudaya Samanta Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Soha Namo Bhagavate Trilokiya Prativissistaya Buddhaya Bhagavate Tariyata Om Vishuddhaya Vishuddhaya Asama Sama Samantava Vasisparana Gati Gana Sobhava Vishuddhe Avissinchantu Manshugata Varavachana Amerita Abhisekai Mahamantra Padai Ahara Ahara Ayusam Dharani Sutaya Sutaya Gagana Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Vishuddhe Sahasrarasmi Samjorite Sarva Tathagata Avalokani Satparamita Paripurani Sarva Tathagata Matidasa Bhumi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Vajrakaya Samhatana Vishuddhe Sarva Varana Apaya Durgati Pari Vishuddhe Prati Nirvartaya Ayushuddhe Sammaya Adhishtite Mani Mani Mahamani Tathata Bhutta Koti Parishuddhe Vishputta Bodhishuddhe Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vijaya Smara Smara Sarva Bhuta Adhishtita Shuddhe Vajri Vajra Garbhe Vajram Bhavatu Mama Sariram Sarva Sattvanam Chakaya Pari Vishuddhe Sarva Gati Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Sinchame Sama Svasayanto Sarva Tathagata Samma Svasa Adhishtite Buddhiya Buddhiya Vibhudiya Vibhudiya Bodhaya Bodhaya Vibhodaya Vibhodaya Sammanta Parishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtita Mahamudre Soha Namo Bhagavate Trilokiya Prativissistaya Buddhaya Bhagavate Tariyata Om Vishuddhaya Vishuddhaya Asamasamasa Vasasparana Gati Gahana Sobhava Vishuddhe Avissinchantu Mamshugata Varavachana Amerita Abhisekai Mahamantra Padai Ahara Ahara lokani satparamita paripurani sarva tathagata matidasa bhumi pratishtite sarva tathagata hridaya adhishtana adhishtita mahamudre vajrakaya samhatana vishuddhe sarva varana apaya durgati pari vishuddhe prati nirvartaya ayushuddhe sammaya adhishtite mani mani mahamani tathata bhuta koti parishuddhe vishputta bodhishuddhe jaya jaya vijaya vijaya smara smara sarva buddha adhishtita shuddhe vajri vajra garbhe vajram bhavatu mama sariram sarva sattvanam chakaya pari vishuddhe sarva gati parishuddhe sarva tathagata sinchame samma svasayanto sarva tathagata samma svasa adhishtite buddhiya buddhiya vibuddhiya vibuddhiya buddhaya buddhaya vibuddhaya vibuddhaya samanta parishuddhe sarva tathagata hridaya adhishtana adhishtita mahamudre soha namo bhagavate chalokya prativisistaya buddhaya bhagavate tariyata om vishuddhaya vishuddhaya asama sama samanta vapasasparana gatigana Subhava vishuddhe abhisinjanto mamshurata varavachana amerita abhisekai mahamantra parai ahara ahara ayum sandarani sutaya sutaya gadana vishuddhe shisha vijaya vishuddhe sahasra rasmi samjodite sarva tathagata avalokani satparamita paripurani sarva tathagata matedasa bhumi pratishtite sarva tathagata hridaya adhishtana adhishtita mahamudre vajrakaya samhatana vishuddhe sarva varana apaya durgati pari vishuddhe prati nirvartaya ayushuddhe sammaya adhishtite mani mani mahamani tathata bhutta koti parishuddhe vishputta bodhishuddhe jaya jaya vijaya vijaya smara smara sarva buddha adhishtita shuddhe vajri vajra garbhe vajram bhavatu mama sariram sarva sattvanam chakaya pari vishuddhe sarva gati pari shuddhe sarva tathagata sinchame sama svasayanto sarva tathagata samma svasa adhishtite buddhiya buddhiya vibuddhiya vibuddhiya bodhaya bodhaya vibuddhaya vibuddhaya sammanta parishuddhe sarva tathagata hridaya adhishtana adhishtita mahamudre soha.
I had very little confidence. I considered myself ugly. I had difficulty making friends at school. Even if I liked...
Oh, the universe. Oh, Maya, so funny. That was an advertisement at the end of that. But thank you, everyone, for listening to such a powerful meditation experience. Some of you were wondering who the name of the singer is and what the name of the chant is. I'll just put the title of the YouTube video in chat for you. There you are. And if you like, you can copy it if you can, or even just screenshot it. Yeah. So, thank you for coming to this Sangha today. I very much appreciate all of your participants in it, And I thank you for providing the opportunity for me to host this space for you. And what a wonderful unity of both ancient tradition and modern technology, bringing us, well, this live, but also that wonderful performance of such a mantra. Now, Gregorji, you were also wondering when we can do a Shinto one, or someone recommended a traditional African chant. I think we can do those shortly. Yes, not tonight, but this week sometime, tomorrow, we will be doing ASMR Sunday, so we'll keep the vibe very nice and calm. But Monday, we can try for it. I also said that I'll try to get my sister to braid my hair on Monday as well. So we can do a double whammy. A double yammy. And thank you for those who sent a gift whilst we were doing such a chanting session. Tatvamasi, thank you for your trio of roses. You also share that in Vajrayana, we have a day where we worship ourselves. It's called Mahapuja. Love the concept. I love that concept as well. That's so sweet. Do you know what day that is, or is it just something we get to choose? And thank you, Linda, for your octet of roses. And for a hat and mustache. Radhe, Radhe. Kishori, you share that. You worship yourself today, your birthday. Is it your birthday today? Well, birthday is a very good day to worship yourself, isn't it? That would make sense. But Tatvamasi, you share what you're describing is in October. That makes sense. Well, happy birthday, Kishori. And I thank you. I am honored that you have chosen on this auspicious day for you to have part of it take place in this Sangha. So I am very fortunate for that. Very blessed. Thank you. All my best wishes to you on this day for you. And here is to many more trips around our local sun. Each lap successfully taken, making us wiser and more experienced in everything that we do. And Isabella, thank you for your rose. And you're very welcome, Kishori. Thank you, Dob Darker, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sky Guardian, you are so funny. And thank you, Loopy Lane, for your hand hearts. And your flowers. Jai Sitaram. And Anna, thank you for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Anna Lee, for your presence here as always. And Tatvamasi for another trio of roses. John Brennan, you ask, what are your spiritual gifts or lessons you need to learn? Well, who am I to point out what lessons other people still need to learn? I may point out within myself what lessons I need to learn. And maybe if any of them resonate with you, we can share our journey towards that together. I think that I could benefit from forgiving those whom perceive me in a way that is different from what I intend. I could also drop my intentions at all to be perceived in a certain way. And both of those things are lessons that I'm still learning, definitely. And thank you, Lindsay, for your garland headpiece. Radhe, Radhe. But you also asked what spiritual gifts you have. Now that I can answer because it helps me, encourages me to try to find the gifts in others that I can learn from myself. And in you, well, just by asking that question, you have shown me that you are open to humility. You see that others can provide you with the opportunity to look for things that you should be more grateful for or need to learn. And that's a wonderful spiritual gift to have, that openness to be guided by others. I can very much learn from that myself. And thank you, Claire, for your quintet of team bracelets. Radhe, Radhe. Now, since we are getting to the end of our Sangha, I will ask that if anyone has remaining questions, you are welcome to ask them, but maybe tomorrow. Or if you have a burning inquiry, you are welcome to message me, especially on Telegram. It's an app that is encrypted both ways and provides both me and you with anonymity. Of course, you already know who I am, so that doesn't really matter for me. But for you, it's a great way to remain anonymous in your questions in case that appeals to you. Otherwise, I'm available on my Linktree, on my email or Instagram. Those are great ways of contacting me. For everyone's safety, I don't respond to messages here because there are a lot of scammers here. And all of my contacts are in the link tree in my bio. That's linktr.ee/YAMSOX. Yamsox. And thank you, Sky Guardian. I didn't even realize that was my Telegram address. It's t.me/Yamsox. Good to know. Thank you. And with that, I can direct you to some further resources. If you ever wanted to get something more out of this live or any of them, we have our Yamsox Lives YouTube channel, in which I upload the recording of this and every other live too, save for my ASMR Sunday lives, which are uploaded to my ASMR YouTube channel. On the ASMR channel, we do different things like reading the Bhagavad Gita. I just recorded the 8th chapter, ASMR style, hoping to upload that tonight. I might re-record it though, because I was very gassy and I kept having to pause to burp. Which I don't think will be very conducive to a ASMR experience, but we'll see. I'll have to review the footage. And now, also, on the Yamsox Lives channel, Sky Guardian has volunteered to clip out the readings as well as the chanting sessions. So those kind of serves as playlists for you to maybe participate in meditation sessions, increase your mantra japa abilities, your recitation, repetition of mantras. And the playlists for the books that we've been reading, they're kind of like free audiobooks. Although the recording quality isn't very good because, I make mistakes and it's live and there's prone to error. But it is a free audiobook experience for you, I suppose. But thank you. And thank you, Johnny, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe, and Goddess of Insomnia. What a name you have. Thank you for your 22 roses and pair of tiny dinies. Yippee! Sky Guardian, you shared that you're pretty good at catching the mistakes and editing them. You are very good at that. Yes, I appreciate that. Let this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna, a form of the divine, as a couple of two lovers which speaks to my heart. May this be like a tulasi leaf offered at their feet. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Verity, for your hand hearts. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment. Namaskar. And you go to bed, Loopy Lane. That's late. 4:44 in the morning. Or you're up very early, in which case, good for you. If not, go to bed.